The word guilt appears hundreds of times in A Course in Miracles, and the word remorse isn't used a single time. Words are subject to interpretation, of course. The dictionary's definition for remorse is, quote, deep regret or guilt for a wrong committed, end quote. I'm going to take the word regret and suggest that it might be the key difference between guilt and remorse. I cannot regret something without acknowledging it first, so remorse includes taking accountability for the error. In A Course in Miracles, the emphasis is placed on taking accountability for your thoughts and for your perceptions, and less on your actions. Now, right action is definitely a thing in ACIM, but it doesn't get the same level of attention as our thoughts, because our thoughts are the causative thing. They create the fearful world we see. If our actions are reactions to the world we see, we can say the error occurred in the moment we misperceived reality. This error can't be corrected until it's been acknowledged. Quote, as long as you think you know its meaning, you will see no need to ask it of him. Yet you do not know the meaning of anything you perceive. Not one thought you hold is wholly true. The recognition of this is your firm beginning. You are not misguided. You have accepted no guide at all. Instruction in perception is your great need, for you understand nothing. Recognize this, but do not accept it, for understanding is your inheritance. Perceptions are learned, and you are not without a teacher, but your willingness to learn of him depends on your willingness to question everything that you have learned of yourself. For you who have learned amiss should not be your own teacher. End quote. Returning to my favorite analogy for this, the mistake wasn't jumping back in fright so much as it was misperceiving the garden hose as a snake in the first place. If we just focus on the action part, yes, then I suppose in the future we won't look ridiculous to other people if we remember not to jump back in fright. But if we don't correct the real error, we'll be very afraid of that particular garden hose, right? We might avoid that spot in the garden entirely if we're afraid of snakes. When we're projecting with the ego, we are hiding our errors from ourselves, in the projections of them onto others. I now see the error outside of myself, but I've also placed it somewhere that I now have no control over it. I can't change other people's minds as quickly as I could change my own mind. My thoughts are the one thing I can actually exert some control over. To perceive errors in anyone and react to them as if they were real is to make them real to you. You will not escape paying the price for this, not because you are being punished for it, but because you are following the wrong guide and you will lose your way. Your brother's errors are not of him, any more than yours are of you. Accept his errors as real, and you have attacked yourself. If you would find your way and keep it, see only the truth beside you, for you walk together. End quote. In A Course in Miracles, Jesus is giving us practical advice. Acknowledge the error itself rather than the effects of the error, and correct it there. Then you will not experience its effects. Quote, there is a very simple way to find the door to true forgiveness and perceive it open wide and welcome. When you feel that you are tempted to accuse someone of sin in any form, do not allow your mind to dwell on what you think he did, for this is self-deception. Ask instead, should I accuse myself of doing this? End quote. Let's return to the first quote I shared today. Quote, as long as you think you know its meaning, you will see no need to ask it of him, yet you do not know the meaning of anything you perceive. So if you continue to hold on to the idea that the world is happening independently of your mind, then you have no power to change anything in the world, or very little. If you accept that perception is projection, not sometimes but always, you have taken the first step in actually gaining some control over the world that you perceive. This is why I've named the book I've written, How to Change the World by Changing Your Mind. Really, my book could consist entirely of do the workbook from A Course in Miracles exactly as instructed. There, you're done. But I'm not, because I understand spiritual skepticism, since I've been around it all of my life. My personal mission seems to be to convince those people who believe science is real to look at the science of things beyond the material world. Since we do experience many things, mainly emotions, which have no material substance, but certainly do have profound effects on our experience in general. Guilt blinds us to the real errors that need correcting. As I was told by my therapist after my dark night of the soul a decade ago, guilt is the only useless emotion. It serves no purpose because it hides mistakes from our view. Guilt is always followed by blame because they are the same wave. We can't entertain just one of them alone, although most of us do favor one over the other. Guilt is always followed by blame because they are the same wave. If you were to transpose a vertical line on this wave, you will see it is both guilty and innocent at times, because this is how waves behave. Remorse, when defined as seeing the error correctly and regretting it, motivates us to not make the same error in the future. That is practical. And quite remarkably, if acimce is to be believed, and if science is to be believed, there has only been one error, and it was making the world we perceive with our senses, the world of separation, real. That's it. And again, it's not an error that rises to the level where one should feel guilty about it. The world does appear very, very real. I still get fooled hundreds of times daily. It's a forgivable mistake, and guilt is the force which powers the whole of it. So we really need to undo guilt and blame if we ever want to see a better world. Thank you for listening.